Greetings and welcome to our 2022 Trippy Food Patriots Day special. Today we're going to go down the Freedom Trail in the city of Boston, Massachusetts and learn about Boston and its role in the Revolutionary War. Come on, let's go. Today we are in Boston, Massachusetts, and we are currently in the Boston Public Gardens. They were instituted in 1837. We're going to see a bunch of stuff that's off the Freedom Trail, but our main point is to see things on the Freedom Trail. Where we're standing right now is probably not part of the original city of Boston. It was much, much smaller. So we're going to go over to the Commons, which is the first stop on the Freedom Trail. And on the west side of the Boston Commons was the Charles River. So a lot of Boston got filled in. It was actually originally very, very small. We're going to check out the Freedom Trail. We're going to check out places around there, and then just some odd other things along the way. So let's get started. We are now in Boston Common, and Boston Common was established in 1637. So this was initially the place where the colonists brought their livestock to feed. So it was the common area. Now on the west side of Boston Common, the Charles River just came right up here. So most of the area south and west of here is landfill. Boston used to be very, very small, almost like an island, just a very small peninsula. And at its narrowest point, which is maybe a few blocks south of here, it was about 100 feet wide. So this is our first stop. We're going to check out the rest of the sites and what's going on. From here, I guess we'll work our way up to the new State House. So behind me is what they call the new State House. So it's basically the state capital of Massachusetts. Now, being the new one, this one was built in 1798, which kind of gives you an idea of how old the old one is, which we're going to actually stop by. So this was designed by Charles Bulfinch. During World War II, where you see it has the gold dome, during World War II they actually painted the dome gray so it wouldn't reflect light, just in case bombers were flying over it or anything. So across from it, we visited the Shaw Memorial. So it was the 54th Regiment of the U.S. Army, led by Shaw. And if you remember correctly from the movie Glory, that was the regiment that was mostly led by freed black slaves that fought in Civil War. So they have a monument for him out there. Well, we're going to move on and see some other things. All right, we are now at the Park Street Church. And the Park Street Church was built in 1809. What makes the Park Street Church, I guess, famous is that there were a lot of abolitionist speeches that took place here at the Park Street Church. The other thing that makes it famous is this is the first place in the United States where the song "My Country 'Tis of Thee" was sung. All right, right now we are next to the Park Street Church and we are in the Granary Burial Grounds. The Granary Burial Grounds was founded in the mid-1600s, and so what makes it notable is it is full of a lot of characters and people that were instrumental in the Revolutionary War. So Samuel Adams is here, Paul Revere is here, John Hancock. There's a big monument to Franklin, but it is not Ben Franklin. Ben Franklin was born in Boston, but he is actually buried in Philadelphia. So this is Ben Franklin's parents, the victims of the Boston Massacre. They're laid here. So it's a very historic cemetery. We're going to walk around and check out some of the gravestones. We're standing in the King's Chapel burial ground. Behind me is King's Chapel, which was built as a Unitarian church in 1754. The stone church was built around the original 1688 wooden church. When they completed the old church, it was dismantled inside and it was actually tossed out the windows. The burial ground isn't associated with the church at all. It was established in 1630. It's the oldest cemetery in the city. At the midpoint of the Freedom Trail, there's a cluster of historic sites. So the Old South Meeting House, that was built in 1729 as a congregational church. It's the location where the colonists met to plan the Boston Tea Party, which took place in 1773. At the time it was built, it was the largest building in Boston. The two statues at the Boston Irish Famine Memorial were sculpted by Robert Shore, and it represents the famine in Ireland and prosperity in America between the two statues. The Old Corner Bookstore was built in 1718 as a home and apothecary shop. It became a bookstore in 1828, but over the years it's been reallocated, and sadly now it's a Chipotle. A lot of people think that the donkey became the Democrats' mascot at Boston's Old City Hall, but in truth, Robert Webb just needed a place for a donkey statue he bought in Italy in 1998. Rather than erect an opposing elephant to represent Republicans, they put down brass footprints to stand in opposition. So right now we are in front of the old State House. So this was the seat of the old federal court. This building was built in 1713, so that's what they call it, the old State House. You saw the newer one. So this was the first state capital of Massachusetts, once Massachusetts was formed as a state. So at the foot of the State House, there's a circle. In 1770 is where the Boston Massacre took place. So basically there was a protest and a bunch of colonists threw rocks at the soldiers. The soldiers opened fire on it, and so the Boston Massacre took place right there. We are now standing in front of Fennel Hall, which was built in 1742. The building is often called the Cradle of Liberty because it served as a meeting place for the Patriots leading up to the American Revolution, including meetings discussing the Stamp Act, the Boston Massacre, and the planning of the Boston Tea Party. The bottom floor is a busy marketplace, and the meeting room is on the second floor in a 100-foot-long hall that was 28 feet tall. Fennel Hall was funded by Peter Fennel, who posthumously gave the hall its name. Sadly, Fennel made his living as a slave trader. A few years back, I recall reading that the gold grasshopper wind vane on the top of the building was actually stolen. I have no idea how they got up there to steal that. Behind Fennel Hall is Quincy Market, built in 1826. The purpose of this is to expand the marketplace on the ground floor of Fennel Hall. A lot of the land it's built on was landfill. Today there's 3 rows of buildings filled with shops, markets, bars, and restaurants. The Freedom Trail passes right in front of Union Oyster House, which is the oldest continuously operating restaurant in the United States. So be sure to check out our visit there on a previous episode. From there, it takes a turn down Marshall Street, which is an alley crammed with history. There's the Bell in Hand Tavern, which is America's oldest continuously operating tavern. It opened in 1795. There's the 1770s Ebenezer Hancock House, which is the only remaining building owned by John Hancock. And the Boston stone, which is a millstone brought to Boston from England in the 1600s to grind paint. And it's anybody's guess what the 1737 date refers to. Once out of the alley, you're in Haymarket, which is an open-air market with fruits, vegetables, meat, seafood vendors selling goods at low prices all day, Fridays and Saturdays. The location and operating hours were set by the state in 1952. There's been an open-air market here since the 1600s, with the managing Haymarket Pushcart Association, which was established back in 1820. It's such a landmark that they have street art titled Asaroton 1976 by Mag Harries and Lajos Hedderbrons that has bronze garbage embedded in the sidewalk. Thanks for tagging along with us on part one of our Patriots Day special on Boston's Freedom Trail, where we got more coming up. It's a pretty big thing and hard to cover all in one episode. So hope you'll join us for part 2. Until then, please take care of yourselves because it's crazy out there. Be careful, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for checking out Trippy Food. If you enjoyed watching that video half as much as I did making it, well then I enjoyed it twice as much as you did. And if that's the case, you'll probably like this video right here. And if not, check out this video right here. That one's a little bit different. Either way, leave a comment down below. And be sure to subscribe by clicking on the Trippy Food icon right here. Glad you could make it, and we hope to see you again soon.